Thank you, Chairman Hurd, and I'd like to welcome today the panelists. Appreciate your insights on these topics, and I also would like to acknowledge law enforcement. I know it's not easy what you do, and I'm so appreciative of the amazing job that your departments do, and I love the thin blue line. So thank you so much for what you do. Ms. Hess, my questions are probably addressed to you. I just want to make sure I understand this. Law enforcement wants to force the private sector to build a back door, if you will, or backdoor key into cell phones, into software, things such as that. Is that correct?
Sir, I would actually phrase that from the sense that we are simply asking for information that we seek in response to a lawful order in a readable format. How that actually happens should be the decision of the provider.
So you're not asking for a backdoor key into the encrypted software or cell phone?
If we don't have the key, but yet the provider can get us that information by maintaining the key themselves, then that would be obviously a legitimate way to respond to our lawful order.
Okay, and what you're asking for would only be used if a warrant is issued, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Everything we're discussing today, yes, sir.
And then what we're discussing today would arguably make law enforcement's job quicker, easier to apprehend the bad guys, as we said, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I'm a software developer myself, and I'm also a home builder, so I'd just like to give you an analogy as I understand this. Isn't this analogous to the government asking for or requiring home builders to put a video camera in every room of every new home that they build with the guarantee or the promise that the government won't turn it on? Don't be concerned, the government will not turn this camera on unless we get a warrant. And that would make law enforcement's job easier, correct, and quicker if there's a crime in the home. Isn't this analogous to that? Because you're saying, trust us, we'll only do this if we need to do it.
Sir, I think the analogy may be better described as if we should need to know what's going on in that home, then as long as the company can respond quickly. Now, that might mean that they wire the home, but it certainly doesn't mean they necessarily have to have the cameras installed, as long as they can do that quickly. On the other hand, if they can come up with a different way to tell us what's going on inside that home and do it quickly in a timely manner that's quickly available to us when needed, then whatever way they come up with would be acceptable.
Because what troubles me is law enforcement tends to agree with, and I'll paraphrase here, but that there's a reasonable standard of privacy, Fourth Amendment rights, when one is in their own home. I think most people in law enforcement would agree with that. Yes. But when it comes to our cell phone conversations, our emails, anything that's electronic and data, it seems like this reasonable right to privacy isn't there. And that's the people in my district in Iowa feel that same way. Would you address that, please?
Yes, sir, I'd like to. I believe that's inaccurate. Certainly you do have a reasonable expectation of privacy, which is why what we're referring to today and discussing here today requires a warrant. Whether that's real-time communications or the data stored on that device still would require a warrant, and that is the threshold under the Constitution.
In this next question, thank you. And this next question is for anyone on the panel. Does law enforcement have other ways other than what you're asking for to access the necessary data needed in, let's say, 99% of the criminal cases? Are there other ways of doing this? Because it seems like we're always given as citizens the dichotomy of liberty and giving up liberty and freedom for safety. And I believe in American exceptionalism. I believe we can have both. Aren't there other ways law enforcement can do this?
Yes, sir. I would like to address that. Is that I also believe that we can balance liberty and security and public safety. I would say that there are certainly, when law enforcement is stymied by a particular obstacle in an investigation, we will seek all other ways to get the information we need. But those other ways may delay us in getting that information. They may not be timely solutions. They may not be encompassing solutions to where we might be able to identify other victims or other co-conspirators or the vast nature of the crime or the impact of the crime. And that's what concerns us, to be able to get that information quickly.
And I'm out of time. I yield back, Mr. Chairman. But once again, I would like to thank law enforcement for the amazing job that you do. Thank you very much.